JROTC in Philadelphia!
In the American Revolution, there was the militia, there was the redcoats, there were French, there were also Native Americans, there was also slaves that were more a part of our revolution than just what is put in the textbooks.
July 4, 1776, Congress issues the Declaration of Independence.
I've learned more about the American history, more about the lives of the people.
People that did not physically fight in the war were just as equally impacted by the American Revolution.
At last, the British surrender.
Today was super fantastic, right? That was amazing stuff.
You kind of opened your eyes to a lot of things. The entire day did.
I know I got to come back. There's so much that I didn't know about the American Revolution, and there's so much more to learn.
We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union.
Now, during the Constitutional Convention, there was a lot of discussion about the executive branch.
I really think it's a good idea to learn from history because you can learn from the past.
First thing Congress did in 1789 while they're meeting in New York City is to craft 12 articles.
It was kind of hard to believe that you were actually sitting in the building. Like you didn't think it was real, but you were literally sitting in these seats where they just made all these big decisions out of nowhere that started our country.
I just found it really interesting, all the history behind that one bell and how much it meant to us.
7 words that really describe today is America, rights, life, freedom, pursuit, happiness, and unified.
We the people do not make history, we are made by history.
JROTC in Valley Forge!
And on December 19, 1777, the Army moved to winter quarters and began building their camp.
Setting up these 12,000 men on these lands, what they call military streets.
For the men of the Army, building the huts was a welcome relief. Tools were scarce and timber had to be dragged to the hut site.
Each one of these huts for the enlisted men would hold a squad, and that's about 12 men.
Today I learned that Valley Forge was legit the birthplace of the Army, which was very interesting.
The experience for me, visiting Valley Forge, it gave me a sense of patriotism and pride for my country.
He rents this out. It was actually a business residence that he rents out for about 6 months. And he has a rather large staff here, a military family that consists of about 20 to 25 people at any given time. So for that reason, he thought this was too confining as a headquarters for the Continental Army.
Bound by determination and training, a renewed Continental Army had taken the field with a spirit strengthened at Valley Forge. A spirit that would carry Washington's seasoned veterans 3 more years to victory at Yorktown in 1781 and beyond.
There are 4 military junior colleges in the nation, you might have heard. This is one of them.
My job is to prepare them for college, but it's also to get them into college. And this is an opportunity to do that for a selected number of cadets out of Fort Worth ISD.
The building that you just came out of, that is Mettenbach Hall. So Mettenbach Hall services our college admissions and our financial aid.
In the next phase of your life, when you go on to college, choose a place that's going to challenge you. Choose a place that's going to keep you on your toes. Don't look for the easy out.
Once in a lifetime opportunity to talk to a general and to share with them their ambitions, and at the same time he's sharing with them his challenges as the president of his alma mater, Valley Forge Military Academy and College.
We got some cadets from Fort Worth here that are asking questions about your team.
Okay. We have 2 different color guards. We have both an academy one as well as a college one.
Going to a military academy helps me keep an open mind to what I want in my future.
All right, as you know, just keep your voices low and just follow us right in.
entire war. Unfold for the portion of Gettysburg unfold before you.
So Lincoln was elected, and he posed such a threat to the slave interest in the South that only 1 month later, they seceded. And they told Abraham Lincoln that he needed to get all of his soldiers out of Fort Sumter. And Abraham Lincoln said, I'm sorry, that's a U.S. military base. They're not going anywhere. They're protecting that harbor. Well, South Carolina opened fire, and this war began.
So far, it's been pretty interesting.
The Battle of Gettysburg lasted 3 days.
Because I didn't really know a lot about what the citizens went through at Gettysburg.
I would very much like to go up into the National Cemetery. I have haversacks in there, and inside these haversacks are different items a soldier would have carried, and we are trying to have them try to identify who would have carried that haversack by examining the contents of their haversack.
It looks like we have possible Union soldier by the name of Payne from the 20th Massachusetts.
We think he's an immigrant because he has an English grammar book.
Pliny White, and what did you find in there?
A ring. He was married.
He would write letters.
Yeah, he wrote a lot of letters. One thing we discover about these Civil War soldiers is they wrote home often. They were homesick.
Sumner Payne turned 16 years old 1 month after the Civil War began in 1861.
Sergeant Philip R. Hamlin was a deeply religious and philosophical young man who wrote proficiently to his parents and younger siblings.
Every time I read about Gettysburg or something like that, it was always about soldiers. And this time it was more concentrated about other people's lives that were affected by it.
I'd love to just turn the clock back and be there and just see what's going on. But a lot of times I would turn around and look at you guys and I'd imagine you in the Union blue and turn you into somebody else to try to put perspective on where you were at different places on the battlefield or at the cemetery or whatever. I was trying to really be there, really feel that experience.
Fourscore-and-7 years ago.
Where Abraham Lincoln stayed in that house, where his writing was, that really amazed me.
Conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
JROTC in DC!
The United States Holocaust Museum is a deeply moving experience for any human being that goes through it. And to walk through it today with our students was especially meaningful to me.
I am amazed of how powerful and how this even happened, and no one really was there to stop it.
And just thinking that kids our age went through this, it's very sad.
Today we asked a lot of why. Why did this happen? Why did people go along with it? Why?
These people really fought for their freedom and liberty, and they made sure that that irony behind it disappeared and it was to be fully executed in American society.
Harlem Hellfighters. That was a very prestigious regiment back then for the African Americans, and I think that they were just heroes beyond heroes.
It opened my eyes to how bad slavery and segregation was, but together we can make things better.
I just feel privileged and just very honored, and I owe that all to them.
I set this up for you. Off with one hell of a roar. We live in fame, we go down in flames. Hey, United States Army Air Force.
Does anybody know how many Americans died in Vietnam? 58,000.
4 score and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty
and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
I see a big statue of Martin Luther King, and it's kind of interesting because he has like papers in his hand, so I'm kind of curious as to what that is.
I think the paper could represent a speech or a sermon.
I think it was a really nice experience. Never had anything like this before. It touched me.